Welcome to the European Association for Higher Education Advancements YouTube and podcast channel. Let's be honest, job hunting can be a real roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know, you nail an interview, you get that great post-interview buzz, and then crickets, exactly.
Yeah.
It's enough to make anyone question their skills and even their sanity.
Oh, absolutely. That radio silence can be deafening, especially when you think you aced the interview.
You walk out and you think, I nailed it.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're taking a deep dive into a blog post from the EAEA titled, You Go to Job Interviews and Everything Goes Well, but Recruiters Don't Get Back to You.
Catchy title.
They really hit the nail on the head with that title. We're going to unpack why this happens and, more importantly, what you can do about it.
Okay.
So right off the bat, the EAEA reassures us it's not always about you.
Right.
They really emphasize that there are so many factors at play behind the scenes that candidates often aren't aware of.
Yeah, they really try to reassure you it's not you, it's me kind of thing.
Okay, that is reassuring. I think we all tend to jump to the worst-case scenario when faced with that silence. But if it's not about us messing up the interview, what else could it be?
Well, one point they make that I found really insightful is just thinking about the internal workings of organizations, right? Like hiring processes can be surprisingly complex with multiple layers of decision-making. So a delay might simply mean that things are taking a little longer than expected, up at the higher level.
So it's not necessarily a reflection on the candidate at all. It's more about the company's internal timeline.
Exactly. And sometimes priorities shift within an organization. So the EEAA mentions, a project might get put on hold, budgets might change, or they might suddenly need to prioritize a different role altogether.
That makes total sense. Things change quickly in any organization.
Oh, they do. And this isn't to say that you should never follow up.
Right.
But understanding these behind-the-scenes factors, I think, can really help you approach the situation with a bit more patience and perspective.
That's a good point. It's so easy to get caught up in our own anxieties that we forget the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Speaking of follow-up emails, though,
Yes.
the EHEA offers some specific advice on how to handle them effectively.
Yes, they do. And one thing they emphasize is the importance of timing. Waiting a reasonable amount of time shows respect for the recruiter's process while still demonstrating your genuine interest in the position.
Okay, but what exactly a reasonable amount of time? I imagine that can vary depending on the industry and the specific role.
You're absolutely right. There's no magic formula.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, the EHEA suggests waiting about a week after the interview before reaching out.
That seems like a good rule of thumb. It gives them time to regroup after the interview round, but it's not so long that you've completely fallen off their radar.
Precisely. And when you do follow up, they suggest keeping it concise and focused. A brief email reaffirming your enthusiasm for the position and inquiring about the timeline is usually sufficient. And they even provide some sample phrasing in the blog post, which I thought was really helpful.
Oh, I love when they give concrete examples like that.
Me too.
It takes the guesswork out of it.
Exactly.
But I think for a lot of us, even the thought of sending that follow-up email can trigger some anxiety.
Oh, totally.
What if we come across as pushy or impatient?
It's totally understandable to feel that way. But, remember, a well-crafted follow-up is simply a way of staying top of mind. You're not demanding an answer. You're expressing continued interest and demonstrating your proactive communication skills, which are valuable in any workplace.
Okay, that makes me feel better. It's all about framing it as a positive interaction rather than a desperate plea.
Exactly.
So we've sent that perfectly worded follow-up email. Still nothing. How do you deal with the disappointment? And let's be honest, the inevitable hit to your confidence.
That's the tough part, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's so easy to spiral into self-doubt and assume you did something wrong. But the EAEE has a really interesting perspective on this.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on the silence, they encourage you to view it as an opportunity for growth.
I'm liking this proactive approach. So what concrete steps does the EAEA suggest we take during this waiting period?
Well, they have a whole section dedicated to actionable advice. And one thing they suggest is revisiting your resume.
Okay.
Is it tailored to the specific types of roles you're applying for? Does it effectively highlight your most relevant skills and experiences?
That's a good point. It's easy to get stuck in a rut of using the same generic resume for every application, but taking the time to customize it for each role can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. The EEBA also stresses the importance of networking. Now, I know that word can make some people cringe, but they offer kind of a fresh perspective on it. They talk about reaching out to people in your field, not just to ask for job leads, but to learn more about their career paths, their insights on the industry, and any advice they might have for someone starting out.
Okay, I can get behind that. It's less about networking and more about having genuine conversations and building relationships with people who share your professional interests.
Exactly, and they remind us that you never know where a helpful connection or piece of advice might come from. Maybe that person you chatted with knows of an opening that's a perfect fit for you, or maybe they can offer valuable feedback on your resume or interview style.
It's all about expanding your circle and being open to new opportunities. And the EATA doesn't stop there. They also suggest exploring additional training or education.
Yes, they emphasize that the job market is constantly evolving and staying ahead of the curve is crucial.
Right.
Maybe there's a new software program you could learn, a certification you could earn, or even a short course that could boost your skills and make you a more competitive candidate. And they have some great resources on their website, by the way.
I have to check that out. I think we can all agree that continuous learning is key in any profession. But it's easy to get so caught up in the day-to-day grind of applying for jobs that we forget to invest in our own professional development.
You're so right. It's like a chef using the same blunt knife day after day. At
Wow.
some point, you have got to stop and sharpen the blade.
I love that analogy, and this downtime while you're waiting to hear back from recruiters can be the perfect opportunity to do just that.
Exactly. So listeners, while you're waiting for those emails to roll in, think about what skills are most in demand in your field. Are you up to date on the latest trends? Could you benefit from adding a new tool to your toolkit? This might be the perfect time to invest in yourself and boost your credentials.
It's all about turning that potential disappointment into a positive and productive experience. And I love how the EAEA emphasizes that this advice isn't just about landing a specific job.
Right.
It's about building a fulfilling and successful career in the long run.
Absolutely. It's about taking a holistic approach to your professional journey and recognizing that each step, even the rejections, can be a valuable learning experience. And what's fascinating here is that the EAEA doesn't shy away from the fact that job searching can be tough, but they offer a really empowering message. Persistence and a commitment to growth are key.
It's all about playing the long game, right? Honing your skills, expanding your network, and viewing every interview as a chance to learn and grow.
Precisely. So the next time you find yourself staring at your inbox wondering why that recruiter hasn't gotten back to you, remember what we've talked about today. It's not always personal. There are tons of factors at play. Take a deep breath, send a polite follow-up if it feels right, and then focus on what you can control your own growth and development.
I think it's also important to remember that we're talking about higher education here.
Yeah.
It's a field where continuous learning and professional development are not just encouraged, they're practically expected.
That's such a great point, and the EAA really speaks to that.
Yeah.
They highlight how important it is to stay current with research, pedagogy, and industry trends, regardless of whether you're actively job hunting or not.
So this downtime we've been talking about can actually be a strategic advantage for academics. It's a chance to dive into that research project you've been putting off and attend a conference or even publish an article.
Exactly. It's about using this time to not only enhance your skills, but also to demonstrate your commitment to the field, and that can make you a much more attractive candidate when those job opportunities do arise.
Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, rejection. It's the part of the job search process no one wants to talk about, but it's a reality we all face at some point.
It is, and the EADA doesn't sugarcoat it. They acknowledge that rejection can be incredibly disheartening, especially when you've poured your heart and soul into an application or an interview.
It's like a mini grieving process, right? You get your hopes up,
Yeah.
you envision yourself in that role, and then bam, it's not meant to be.
It really can feel that way, and I think it's important to allow yourself to feel those emotions. Don't try to brush them aside, but then the key is to shift your perspective.
And that's where the EAA's advice comes in. Instead of viewing rejection as a failure, they encourage us to see it as an opportunity for reflection and growth.
Right. They remind us that not every opportunity is the right fit, and that sometimes what feels like a setback is actually redirecting you towards something even better.
That's a powerful way to look at it. But how do we actually put that into practice? How do we go from feeling defeated to feeling empowered?
Well, the EAEA offers some really practical tips. One thing they suggest is to ask for feedback from the recruiter, even if you weren't selected for the position.
That's a brave move. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people would be hesitant to do that, especially if they're feeling vulnerable after rejection.
I understand that it can feel intimidating, but the EAA makes a really good point. Most recruiters are happy to provide constructive feedback, especially if you frame it as a learning opportunity.
So how would you suggest approaching that conversation?
I think a simple and direct approach is best. You could say something like, "Thank you again for your time and consideration. I'm always looking for ways to improve my interview skills. Would you be willing to share any feedback on my performance?"
That sounds professional, and respectful, and even if they don't have time for a detailed conversation, they might be able to offer a few key takeaways that could be incredibly helpful for your next interview.
Exactly. You never know what valuable insights you might gain. And sometimes just understanding why you weren't chosen can help you move forward with more clarity and confidence.
So the next time you're tempted to hit delete on that rejection email, consider sending a quick follow-up asking for feedback. It could be the most valuable thing you do in your entire job search.
Absolutely. And remember, even if you don't get feedback from every interview, you can still use each experience as a learning opportunity. Think about what went well, what could have gone better, and what you'll do differently next time.
It's all about turning those experiences, even the challenging ones, into fuel for growth. Now, here's something the ESHA doesn't explicitly address in their article, but I think it's worth pondering. What if you could ask the recruiter one question, regardless of the outcome, to maximize your learning from every interview?
That's a brilliant question. It really forces you to think critically about what you want to get out of each interview beyond just getting the job. It's about using every interaction as a stepping stone to becoming the best candidate you can be.
Right, so listeners, take a moment to really consider this. What one question would you ask to gain the most valuable insight from every interview, whether you get the job or not?
It might be about specific skills they're looking for, the company culture, or even their overall impression of your strengths and weaknesses.
It's a great exercise in self-reflection and can help you identify areas for improvement. For me, the question I would ask is, what advice would you give me to be an even stronger candidate for similar roles in the future?
That's a fantastic question. It shows that you're thinking long-term, you're open to feedback, and you're dedicated to continuous improvement, and it puts the recruiter in a helpful mentoring role. They're more likely to offer constructive criticism and actionable advice, even if they didn't choose you for this particular position.
That's so valuable. It's not just about getting the job. It's about becoming the best version of yourself within your chosen field. And that journey never really ends.
Well said. The job search can feel like a roller coaster of emotions. But the EIEA reminds us that it's ultimately a journey of growth and self-discovery. Not every opportunity will work out, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep learning, keep pushing yourself, and never stop believing in your potential. It really is a journey.
It is. And I love how the EIAA frames it that way and focuses on that positive outlook.
Me too.
It's not just about landing a job. It's about, really finding the right fit and continuing to evolve and grow as a professional.
Yeah, and they really drive home that you can't win them all.
Right.
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
What matters is that you take those experiences and learn from them and you keep going.
It's all about the long game.
Exactly.
And I think the EEAA provides a really valuable roadmap for navigating that journey.
They do.
So listeners, if you're feeling stuck or discouraged in your job search, remember, you're not alone.
Absolutely.
The EAA has your back.
And we do too.
We do, and we hope this deep dive has provided you with some helpful insights and actionable strategies to tackle that job search head on.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, you've got this.
You got this.
And don't forget to follow the European Association for Higher Education Advancement on YouTube and social media.